Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Koki Creative. My name is Elena, and today we are doing a speed build. This build is called Oasis Lane's Bowling Alley in the gallery, and if you can't tell, it's a bowling alley, but since there is no bowling alley lot type, I've made it a bar. It's on a 30 by 20 lot, and it costs 148,000 simoleons, but that doesn't matter because it's a community lot, and your Sims won't have to buy it, so awesome. The bowling is in the basement, and because it's so big, it takes up a lot of space, and a 30 by 20 lot isn't huge for this particular type of build, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for so long. I was a bowling alley kid growing up, so my dad was on a league, and I would go to the bowling alley quite often with my brother, and we hung out with the other bowling alley kids and hung out in the arcade, so I really wanted to bring a lot of my old memories into this build. So, not saying, oh, this bowling alley is special, but I definitely wanted to make it feel nostalgic in a way. So, we'll see that once you get in the inside. My bowling alley, though, growing up was in a strip mall, so it was just this big box. It wasn't cool looking at all, and this is actually my second attempt. My first attempt, I did try to do a big boxy style, and I just did not like it. So I went onto Pinterest, my handy dandy Pinterest, love it, and I kept seeing this mid-century style pop up. And originally I was building this in Newcrest, so I hopped on over to Oasis Springs and decided to give this one a try. One thing I noticed about these mid-century bowling alleys is that they had this A-frame roof structure in the front, so I wanted to make that myself. So I had some issues, so let me explain what's going on here because I do end up changing it just a little bit. I have a platform as the base, so I'm not using foundation, I'm using platforms, and I have it up on 2 height, and that's why I have little stairs in the front. So after playing around with this, I did cut it out because I had to do a lot of play testing. I wanted to make sure the doors worked and your Sims could get in here, but I had to lower the platform down to 1 in order to make it work. But it ended up working. My Sim, you can see it right in the front right there. She was able to get in and out. And the color scheme. So this is kind of an interesting color scheme. It just sort of came to me as I was building it, and I kept trying to go away from the green and pinkish red. I didn't like it at first. I wasn't sure because I did kind of like it, and then I tried adding like a minty green color to it. I really didn't like that. I much rather had that like a lighter foresty green. That's not a good way of describing it. And then this pink. So I end up going and changing the windows in a little bit. And I also add a lot of orange in the inside and a lot of color in general. I didn't want to shy away from color with this build. I wanted it to feel like, when you go into a bowling alley, they always have the most wild carpet. You always kind of feel like you're tripping when you're like looking down. You're like, oh my God. So I wanted to give that feeling. So I ended up changing the windows with these big chunky ones that come with Get Famous. And I'm only using a handful of packs. I'm using High School Years, Get Famous, Get Together, Dream Home Decorator, and Bowling Night stuff. So just a handful of 5. I used those packs because I liked certain items in each one of them and I thought they could really make this build even better. My goal was to just use Bowling Night, but there were a few things from Get Famous because it has so many good mid-century items that I just could not have. So one of the items, for example, is this thing that I'm using underneath the sign. It's just a wall decoration item, and I wanted to have a little bit more of a 3D effect with this sign, which I already really like. That sign comes from Bowling Night, if you couldn't guess. Same with the big bowling pin sign you see out front. So this is kind of where the build was really starting to come together and I was believing it in a little more. I did not, I just wasn't sure at first if it was going to turn out. And at this point, I was really liking it. And you can see the builds next to this. This is in my save file. This is Oasis Spring. So these are the builds that are going to be next to each other in the save file. And what I really like about the one right next to this one, which is a rock bar. I think I posted a speed build of it a couple weeks ago, but that has a similar color palette. It also has these rock flooring. And now over here, I'm creating a little staff break area, a place where also the trash goes. I used an old bowling chair here in the back, kind of like, let's say they took it from the basement. Maybe there's like a hole in it, so now they can use it in their break area. I also used an item here in a little bit that I found in the debug menu. It's a rug, and you can't delete it once you place it. That one. You can't delete it once you place it, which is kind of annoying, and I at one point did try to get rid of it, and you can't. So just be aware that some debug items, once you place them down, you can't delete it without, let's say, saving the room, deleting the room, and then replacing the room. It just becomes a whole thing and just too much time to explain how to fix it. So just FYI if you download this build and you want to get rid of that rug, but it doesn't look too bad there. So I used a couple of debug planters to put cactus in along the side of the buildings. I want to make sure in my community lots I still have some seating, some benches outside along with trash cans, all that good stuff. And here I'm using a wallpaper that I just about never use. It's very retro, it comes with base game, and it went with this pack so well. And there's a little bit of bouncing around here. I tried editing out some of that, so I don't want to get anyone a little bit nauseous from watching me bounce around. It's just the roof did make it difficult when I was like decorating the front desk. Yeah, so this is the front desk area where you check in, you get your shoes. If you're not familiar with bowling, that's usually how it goes. You go in and you get your not ticket, but yeah, you pay for your thing, you get your shoes, yada yada. I also added a movie theater up here and a arcade, like I was saying earlier. We'll see that in a second. But I did try to keep orange as the theme, the color palette of this room, orange and green. I also changed it to this flooring. This flooring comes with Get Famous, and I kind of like it. It's very weathered. I wanted this to feel like an older, like it's been around since the 70s, but I didn't want it to feel like not taken care of. I wanted to still feel polished and a place where it's beloved by all family. It's a place they love going. I've taken my Sims here. It's been nice being able to make all these community lots that my Sims can go and visit. Because, like, that's one of the items or one of the things that I always would download from the gallery when I'm playing because I wanted, like, a movie theater. And now my Sims have a little movie theater they can go to. I know it's really small, but honestly, you would never fill up a large size movie theater anyway. Maybe one day I will build a full movie theater, but for now this is more than enough. We don't really need more than just this room for this 30 by 20 build. And here's the arcade. It starts out really small at first, but I do end up growing it. I expand it a little bit, so that way I have a little bit more room to work with. I didn't want to have like this rinky dinky arcade in the back of this. I wanted to have like a proper arcade. So here I grow it, I expand it a little bit. I had to change around the employee area a bit to add a secondary door just so there was access to it. Yeah, I changed it around a little bit, but not too much. At this point in the build, I kept hopping around from room to room, just trying to understand the layout. I was adjusting things, adding platforms, adding doorways, archways. This always happens when I'm almost done with the first story. I try to do room by room, but it's really hard, especially when I change the size of one room. It affects the rest of the layout. So this always happens. It's harder for me to edit my videos sometimes because I just don't want to disorient people, but you get it. I mean, it's not a huge build anyway. And I've been building some really big houses and community lots lately, so something this size doesn't feel as daunting as it used to, which is kind of nice. Right now I'm working on a Barbie mansion that I've been wanting to start for a while. I mean, obviously because of the movie and all, but I finally found some time. I know it's a little bit after the hype, but I still want to do it. I mean, I've been wanting to build a Barbie dream house for years before the movie was even a thing. So, yeah, it's just something I'm finally getting around to and building. But I do have a few ideas for really small builds in between then. Oh, let me talk to you quickly about what I just did right there. So, first of all, I am using Twisted Mexie's Better Build By, so I'm able to change light color from build mode, which is awesome. You can also use tool mod from build mode with this mod. I wanted to change the entire color of the room to purple, the lights to purple. But every time I tried to do it, it was changing the entire front desk and stuff area. So I closed it off with a window, or not window, wow, with a wall, and then was able to change color by room and then delete the wall. So if you ever are finding a time where you want to change just a section of a house without having to individually change each lamp, you can do that. Section it off with a wall first to create a room. I know this is all very basic stuff, but maybe sometimes you just don't think about it. There's so many things that I didn't realize or consider for much longer than it should have, and that could have saved me a lot of time. If that makes any sense. I know I'm just rambling, but Anyway, here I'm in the bathroom. I like how this turned out. It's a good little public restroom. It's got two private toilets. I always make sure that there are bathrooms available in community lots because the amount of times my Sims have that like slow have to pee walk in a very large community lot and end up like peeing themselves is too many times. I need to avoid that. So I try to make sure that I always have bathrooms available on every floor and very convenient locations. So hopefully none of your Sims are having accidents, unless if it's something that you're intentionally trying to do, then I hope your Sims do have accidents. But yeah, I finish up. I make this like an orange color. That flooring there is from Bowling Night. It's very fun, very retro. One of my favorite stuff packs, honestly. If I'm building something mid-century, then I definitely want to include Bowling Night. It might not be everyone's, but I also like that that stuff pack comes with a lot of gameplay. I'm always looking for something that has good cast, build, buy, and gameplay. It's hard to get the all three. And then if it comes with a really nice world, then that's just like a bonus. I know a lot of people's favorite packs is Seasons. That's definitely one of the top ones I see all the time. It doesn't make my uh top five, I don't think, but I don't dislike it. There's just a lot of things about Seasons that kind of annoy me, like snow. Like, it just slows my sim down, and then they always wear their stupid outdoor outfit inside, unless if I get a thermostat or have the fire on, and then they almost freeze to death. And then, don't get me wrong, I love having the pack, and I do like the calendar. But as far as my number one pack, I definitely would not say Seasons is the number one. But I mean, it also depends on your gameplay. So here I'm now in the basement. This is the bowling alley basement, if you can't tell by all the bowling bowling lanes. Yeah, so this is I'm trying to go for that a bit of like a retro feel again down here, but it's a little darker. It's supposed to be good for like glow bowling. If you don't know what glow bowling is, it's pretty much just like black lights, bowling. Sometimes there's a disco ball. Each bowling alley does it a little different. And yes, I have gone bowling many times at many different bowling alleys. It's something that I just enjoy doing. Like if my husband and I are, celebrating something, maybe it's a birthday, we're like, want to go bowling? It's always fun. The bowling alley where I live currently just closed, so I'm a bit bummed that there's no bowling alley now on island, but I'm out visiting family at the moment, and my grandpa and dad and other members of my family go bowling every week, sometimes multiple times a week, so I definitely will be joining them. And yeah, I'm not good. I hope you don't think that I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm also really good. No, I'm not good. But it's that's not what matters. It matters if I'm having fun, and I do have fun. So these are the monitors. I try to make it look like the monitors. And what I'm doing here is when I use the 9 key, I like to make sure that it lines up with the top of a light. So let's say you are using the 9 key and you want to put something that looks like it's hanging from the ceiling, but you're not sure how high the ceiling actually is. I always line it up with a hanging light so then I know that's where the ceiling is. And then I'm using a couple, not just a couple, a ton of items from Bowling Night down here. These are bowling balls. I could not figure out where to put them at first, so I'm kind of playing around with the layout. I wanted to put a bar down here and bathrooms too, so it's not a huge space. Again, I've been doing a lot of big builds lately, and so something this what I would consider big when I would go through my tiny house phase, this seems like too much space to work with. And now that I've been doing so many big builds, it's less daunting. And if anything, I'm like, oh my God, I'm running out of space right now. But I made it work. Here is a path to the bathroom. I made a separate little hallway so that way it wouldn't be just like the bathrooms open to the public. Sometimes I like to do that, separate the bathroom into its own little area. And then here I put the bowling balls. This is where they stay, a place where I realize now would probably be kind of inconvenient because when I'm finished with this, you have to walk through tables and chairs in the bar area and then around all the way down those stairs to go bowling. So sorry about the inconvenient layout, but luckily the Sims don't actually have to go grab a bowling alley, go grab a bowling ball from this area. It's just for aesthetics. But if you are, let's say, building a bowling alley, I would not put this kind of layout. Don't put your bowling balls so far away and through a labyrinth of people and items to get all the way back to where they're supposed to be bowling. Anyway, I'm being silly today. Sorry about that. So I used that rug a couple times in this build, that bowling ball rug. I absolutely love it. It's so fun. And it's one of the first times I've been able to actually use that rug because there's only a few situations where you can actually use a bowling ball rug. And I've had it for years. So I was like, heck yeah, I'm using this bowling ball rug multiple times in this build. I'm getting my money's worth out of it. Here's the bar area, and it's very Coca-Cola. I use red and white and black, obviously, because the rest of the room is black. I use this wallpaper. You see the black wallpaper? That's from Dream Home Decorator. It comes in a lot of different swatches. Definitely love it, but I end up changing a few areas, so it's not all just that wallpaper. That wallpaper isn't super retro, but I wanted to modernize this area just a little tiny bit. Here is like a little lounge section, just a little fun extra seating because why not? Little space to fill. Always you can fill something with a seating area, a fancy little seating area. If you see public areas in real life, there are so many sitting areas. So in community lots, if you need to fill a space with something, a seating area, do it. It's more realistic and there's a lot you can do. You can make it fun. So I got to use that not margarita, that cocktail light. I love that light. And again, that's not something I can just put in every build of mine. A cottage is probably not going to have that cocktail lamp. So I was very excited to use that. Here I'm using some more base game / bowling night chairs to create a sitting area. This is where people eat burgers, fries, have their drinks. They just finished bowling. They're about to go bowling. Or maybe you just come here for the bar. You just come here to hang out. Maybe watch some bowling while you're there. This is a little observation area. I put little notebooks there so that way people are like keeping score, quote, quote, like league night. Maybe they're hanging out there. This is the bathroom. I didn't want to just be plain and empty, so obviously I have to do a little bit of decorating. Put a little chair there so people can wait for their friends to be done with the bathroom. And I put two toilets down here, so there's plenty of space. Your sim doesn't have to go back upstairs to use the restroom. We know we don't want that. And I also made this blue. I don't know why, but sometimes I just feel like throwing in a different color in there. But we have the red, green, blue. It's just kind of nice. So before I finish this up, I end up changing the lighting. And one thing I like to do is finish off the basement with the outside walls. I don't like the way they look when they're unfinished, so I always do that. And now I'm adding a little bit of fancy lights here to the exterior. Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, a like, or if you want to see more of my videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!